Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Today is Monday. It's a U.S. holiday, so a little bit quiet out there. Most of the world actually had their holiday last weekend, May 2-4 weekend here in Canada. Americans like to sort of do things based on their own schedule, and my hunch is it probably has a lot to do with serving the 1% and the banker class and stuff like that, keeping the public out of the market when they need to do big things. But anyway, it is what it is. Holiday today. Had a nice TRI's daily brief session with Seward, TRI's CTO. Basically the architect of all this madness you see on your screen here. Hearing some good feedback about development of the screeners and the dashboards. So very pleased to hear that he feels as though we're making progress towards the ultimate goal. There's a lot of memory issues. I suppose we're trying to crunch a ton of data here. But, looking at the information that's being provided here, I think we're getting, usable information. I like this kind of image. It makes sense. When I talk in the public broiler chicken show yesterday, and we took a look at Bitcoin itself, I think we had sort of talked a little bit about... I've been using this fun little RSI analogy with the public lately. How do you sort of, frame behavior? So we had the first M that comes in, especially from an oversold condition, implying that the bears should cool their jets, which I think on balance was a pretty good idea as of here. I mean, we haven't really done a hell of a lot. And then the question ultimately here is, does a second M come in here? The second second W, it's going to come in, if it does come in here below the 50 line, which does imply a weak signal. So it would be a buy signal. This high here, 37.78 there on RSI, now sitting 37.20. So we haven't broken out yet. And considering it is a holiday session, it doesn't surprise me. We're just sort of like coiling here. My hunch, for whatever it's worth, is this is trying to carve out some sort of 3-bar fractal. And if we go through this high here, like if we finish today, beep, done. Move on to tomorrow and tick up through this high, which on the screen there, over there on stamp, is 37.485.71. It looks like it says there, although it's awfully hard to see. Geez, too many lines on the damn chart. There is the high right there, so just keep your eye there. So what does it say? 37.485.71. Wow, there's a number. So if you see that the market up through that level tomorrow on tomorrow's bar, then you know that probably the odds are this second W will have fired. And we've got a weak buy signal, which means we're probably going to rally back up to things like 50% rules. And I kind of like that thinking too. This was a weak sell, and we dumped. It was a pretty good move. We dumped into that level where Willy Woo was sort of saying you're probably going to see some buyers. We also got rid of a lot of the weak hands. We don't need this on here. A lot of the weak hands that came in through this pump here. Willie was saying that those people have left the market now, which is good, and we're sort of transitioning back to sort of stronger hands now. It's not going to be a strong buy signal. You can clearly see we got a lot of technical damage we got to clean up here, but hey, it's a start. It's a good beginning. So let's see how that goes. And like I said, we should get dead cat bounces back up into things like 38.2, 50%. On the site, we would call this Collins pump. I guess not pump, dump. Collins dump chaser zone, where odds are this should run into a bit of resistance. People who didn't sell up here will be given that opportunity to lighten up if they want to. As well, too, we have our foggy levels that we've been talking about here forever. So 44 looks like a foggy level, big foggy level up at 55. And of course, we've got that big fat round number of $50,000. My hunch is that big fat round number is going to be visited again. So we'll see how it goes. Because it's a U.S. holiday today, most of this stuff's kind of just very wishy-washy. U.S. dollar index itself down a little bit, might be carving out a fractal top. Huge talk of massive deficits, massive budget problems. Biden wants to raise $6 trillion now? Fuck me. I mean, it's almost laughable, especially like old guys like him. When he first got into politics, I bet you he could not imagine $6 trillion. And now the old fuddy-duddy's throwing it around like I don't know. What does it matter? What? 6 trillion? Let's make it 60 trillion. 600 trillion. What's the number after trillion? Bazillion? Gajillion? I don't know. What does it matter? I mean, he's so old and so fuddy-duddy. Just does he even really have a concept of what the hell he's even talking about? My hunch is he's basically been given marching orders by the banksters to somehow justify the massive inflating of the U.S. economy so that the old debt that was a staggering number relative to the size of the economy, that's going to now shrink. And of course, the international community is going to be up in arms over this, and they're probably going to rip the U.S. dollar a new asshole through all this. So, does the U.S. dollar index hold its lows here? I suppose it's really a question of whose shit stinks the least. I mean, I heard in Canada they're actually burning $1.5 billion a day. On a relative basis, ironically enough, you do the math, that works out to about $5 or $6 trillion Canadian equivalent to U.S. So it's not like Canada's any better. Europe, hell, they put the central banker in charge of Italy, Draghi. So the banker is actually king of Italy right now. They're going to do whatever the hell they want there. And, of course, they're probably going to just staggeringly inflate everything to try and just sort of wash away this old debt problem. And, of course, our conversation about Bitcoin, Willie's basically counseling that at the end of this year and sort of our 2014 kind of I guess there's 2017 bull, there's the 2014 bull, 2013, 2014 bull, 17, 18. Well, here we are. How big does this get? And, you put all the pieces together. I would not be surprised. Jesus, where the hell do you have to go on this damn thing? I would not be surprised. All the pieces are in place. Everything's falling into place to make Bitcoin, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a Bitcoin. Not because Bitcoin is so wonderful, but because these currencies are so fucking and completely worthless. Sad. Frankly speaking, I'm actually surprised I'm even living through this. I did not think in my lifetime that they were going to do this to the U.S. dollar. But here it is. It's happening right in front of our eyes. So, party. What do you say? Try and have I think probably the only solution to all this is just try and make sure to have a nice diverse basket of assets. Some U.S. dollars, some Canadian dollars, some Australian dollars, some euros, some yen, some British pounds, some Swiss francs, some euro, some gold, some crude oil, some lumber, some just be diversified. Some altcoins. That's about the only way I can figure to try and get through all this. Because what should happen is if there is a massive currency devaluation, the commodity prices all should jump up. Of course, Bitcoin should jump up. And if you're diversified, then you're going to see some assets in your portfolio go up, some assets in your portfolio go down, and at the end it's just a big wash. I'll tell you, some of these stocks sure look interesting here again. It's been a while since I've been able to say that. Some of the cryptocurrencies are actually starting to look really interesting again. Like, they knocked the stuffing out of these spec assets. I don't know whether the shitcoin index in its entirety is ready to rock and roll here. But I'll tell you, there's some cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, this is going to be a weak buy signal if this second W comes in. I said buy signal. That's a good sign. I wouldn't be surprised. You see, there's Mountain Man. I like the idea of 50% retracements. It's a good rule of thumb to keep you honest. In fact, here, why don't we just go like this? 47,480 seems perfectly realistic here. And in that kind of window, there's some of these altcoins just got the stuffing knocked out of them. I could easily see a beautiful counter-trend rallies here. So this funny little Luna we've been talking about here recently, I mean, look at that. That high was 22. They knocked it down to 3. They often say that markets usually lose 70 to 80% of their value in corrections. Well, that means our old buddy 78.6, right? That's a perfect level. That's why I love buying it so much. There's 78.6. Let's see where that comes in. Survey says, look at that. I could actually realistically think about buying some of this here. And I did! So, there are some really interesting ideas out there. And there's a bunch of them. You go through the list. There's a whole bunch of them. Actually, there's quite a bit more green on here than there was earlier today, too. So that's a good sign. I thought it was interesting, the talking heads. Here's another one that I bought recently. And I've told you guys this. So, I mean, it shouldn't be rocket science. Look at that. I mean, Jesus, 78.6. You've heard Brian talk about 78.6s. I mean, it's right there. Why wouldn't you buy that? So that's the kind of state that we're in here. And believe it or not, heading into through the summer silly season and all this kind of stuff, I actually think you're going to see these things right back up at old highs. There's Kevin's got one of his stocks. They're in the, whoops, that's not it, NFT space. I mean, look at that. It's just you want it's funny when I come across these, right? I just know it's a buy. You just sit there and you go, what do you say to these people? I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I went and bought some. Caveat emptor. And, of course, nobody in the public's talking about this now. When it jumps up like this, of course, it's all over the fucking news headlines and everybody's all going ape shit. And, of course, the public comes in and buys here and they lose money. And it's so cliche. It's ridiculous. Nobody's interested in this stuff now. Good old Brian's in there nibbling away. Rinse and repeat. Same old, same old. So, if you can do yourself a favor, go, use this correction window. The problem here, of course, is that usually the market likes to bottom the end of June, beginning of July. So you can see that's still a little bit away. In fact, actually, it's even bigger than that. So don't be like, okay, well, tomorrow the bull market is on. I think this is going to still take a couple weeks away. And if I understand correctly, remember I was telling you good old Joe Biden's pitching his socialism story to the American public right now. So my hunch is that the original plan was they wanted to have that, I suppose this is going back to things like the stock market. They wanted to have the legislation passed for the new fucking socialist program for July 1st. And if anything, you can almost see how they're going to set the stock market up. The vote is supposed to be over here. But the only way you're going to get the U.S. politicians to endorse socialism is if you get this stock market actually in absolute free fall. Now, I don't know whether we have to come all the way back to here. My hunch is probably these lows are what we're working with. Oops, I did that backwards. So, go there. To there. Yeah, so that's 38.2 off the higher time frame. Huge range. But also notice, too, it's 78.6 off of just this range. So my hunch is, and actually I even like this a little bit lower, my hunch is, believe it or not, over the next week or two, I think, to get that socialism package passed, they're going to have to really knock this market down hard. Because if the market's sitting up here, I don't think they can pass the socialism plan. So let's see. My hunch is, if the 1% wants socialism, and they want Mr. Biden and just these absolutely insane government debts and deficits that are just going to go on endlessly, hyperinflation, death of basically the United States of America that you once knew, you will see the market come off here. If, however, they're not ready for the socialism message, and the stock market, in fact, stays fairly high and pretty close up to the top end of the range, then I can't see how Mr. Biden's going to get his socialism package passed. So we'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. Keep in mind, this market is closed, so let's see what happens over the next week or two. All right, I think that's about it for my rants here. Like I said, I think probably we're now into the end game of the COVID sort of generated crisis. I think this probably goes on for another year or so. What does the 1% want? Does the 1% want blatant socialism in the United States? And if that's the case, then probably expect stock market to come off and big socialist programs to be funded. If the 1% has had enough with this socialism talk and they want to start screwing things back down and sort of tightening up the ship, then you'll probably see the stock market go sideways, and Mr. Socialism's package is muted quite a bit here. But either way, this is going to be a challenging next month. I don't know whether it's a good idea to step in too hard until this is done. So, okay, I think I'm going to leave the rant at that. Have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. We'll sort of get back to regular business as usual with the U.S. Open tomorrow. All the best, and bye for now.